thanks everyone for joining us today to review your Oracle estate tax, we like to call it, and how we can eliminate it. So as Marissa said, please put any questions in the chat and we'll try to get to them at the end. I know that we also had some questions that were asked earlier in the sign up, so we'll try to get to as many as we can. We're not going to take the full hour here. We are going to take about 30 minutes to go through the presentation and then, answer questions after that. So thank you everyone for your time. I'm going to start my video here and you can see we're going to make this a nice fun call today and be on the beach today. So let's talk about your Oracle estate tax. We're going to do a couple introductions about me and Palisade Compliance. And why we think you should be listening to us as we try to guide you through your end of year with Oracle. We definitely want to talk about what is the Oracle estate tax, because that will define the rest of the conversation. And it's actually something I think that pretty much every Oracle customer pays, either knowingly or unknowingly. We want to define some dates for you as you walk through your schedule with Oracle. What is the most important date on the Oracle calendar? We'll talk high level, how to negotiate, how to avoid the wrong deal. And we'll talk a little bit about stealth audits and how they pop up. So with only 30 minutes, we only have so much time. But then the money slide is what to do from now until June. So obviously May 31st is the end of Oracle's fiscal year. And there's a lot going on here. So whether you are negotiating with Oracle, you're trying to reduce your support, you're going through an audit, or you have a ULA that expires, we'll give you a path forward with each of these very specific recommendations that we have depending on which journey that you're on with Oracle. And then if you stay until the end, we've got a little reward for anyone who sticks with us, and thank you in advance. So first, my name is Craig Guarente, and I'm the CEO of Palisade Compliance and Paliversity. And we've been helping Oracle customers with their Oracle challenges on this side of the table since 2011. Before that, I was with Oracle for about 16 years. I was their Global Vice President of Contracts and Business Practices. I was the global owner of their audit team. I was on their CIO advisory board and work with their user groups on licensing and contracting. So lots and lots of experience around Oracle on that side of the table. And then in 2011, I switched sides and started working with customers to really help them with their Oracle challenges. So we started Palisade Compliance in 2011, and we do a myriad of things with our clients. We're a consulting firm. We do cost reduction analysis, negotiations, audit defense, ULAs, whether it's certifications or renewals. And then obviously lots of folks are moving to cloud contracting, so we'll help with that as well. We've got lots of information on our website. We encourage you to visit that. We also opened up our learning annex, Paliversity, recently. Started that in 2019. So we've got classes there for those of you who like to do it yourself on how to negotiate with Oracle, how to reduce your support costs, audits, ULAs, all of that stuff. The list goes on. So folks can sign up and buy a subscription to Paliversity if you're looking to do things on your own. That's the end of my commercial. So let's talk a little bit about the Oracle tax. And when I think about, excuse me, the Oracle tax, I'm thinking about it in a couple of different ways. First of all, it is that fee that you pay to Oracle, that increase in fees that you pay to Oracle every year, regardless of whether you actually use Oracle's products or services. So think about your Oracle tech support. You have a 3% or 2% increase every year that Oracle applies to it. They call it an inflationary adjustment. So you pay that, even if you're not using the software, even if you're using the same amount. In some cases, things that Oracle is now giving away for free. For example, in December, they announced that spatial option, which used to be an extra cost database option, was now free. However, if you bought it before December and paid for it, Oracle doesn't reduce that off of your support bill. So you're paying that Oracle estate tax on something that Oracle is giving away for free, you're actually paying for it. And guess what? The price is going up 3% this year, even though it's free. So it's just the way Oracle does things. So that's sort of the tax that you pay for Oracle. But then there's also the expectation that Oracle has, that many people in Oracle have, that their clients should be doing a new deal with Oracle at least every year. And you think about the way Oracle covers all their accounts, you might have 5 or 10 or 20 sales reps on your account, and they're all looking for that next deal, right? They're all coin-operated machines on the sales side, and they're looking for you to sign something in their fiscal year. So there's probably a lot of pressure, even in today's environment, for you to sign a new deal or comply with an audit or do something with your ULA before May 31st. And you could see our little cheeky Oracle calculator there. There is no minus sign on the Oracle tax. There's only the plus sign. So that is what we define as the Oracle tax. So I thought we'd open up with a poll question here so that we can help in the discussion. So the question is, how has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted your Oracle estate tax fees? And we broke this down, so please, check your answer here. They're all anonymous, and we'll show the results in a second. Has Oracle actively reached out to you to reduce your estate taxes? Have you reached out to them and been successful? Have they at least frozen your fees and said, listen, next year we're not going to apply an increase? Or is it business as usual and Oracle is, continuing to look for those additional fees? And the last one is, I don't know. So it'd be interesting to see, based on our workings with our clients, I sort of have a feeling of how Oracle is approaching their customers here, but it would be great for you guys to do that. So Marissa, why don't we show the results? Here we go. Okay, so 10% have reached out to Oracle and they have reduced the fees, so that's great. No one has said Oracle is actively reaching out to their clients. And 43% are saying that it's business as usual, so about half of you, and the other half just don't know. So interesting. So my impression of how Oracle was treating their clients is very situational. So you may have some salespeople who, if you reach out to them, will be amenable to helping you with some reductions. And you're going to have lots of folks sort of at Oracle washing their hands and saying, hey, there's nothing I can do to help you. And when are we going to sign that next deal? So I don't think there's been a corporate directive from Oracle to reach out to their clients and help them save by any stretch of the imagination. But you're going to find that sales rep here and there who will do it. So your responses are pretty much in line to our experiences as well, or at least the experiences of our customers. So the next thing we want to talk about is your calendar with Oracle and the most important date in the Oracle calendar. Now, Oracle would have you think that May 31st is the most important date. It is the last day of Oracle's fiscal year. Many of your contracts expire on May 31st. And Oracle will put an offer in front of you with the typical line that, hey, if you don't sign that deal this quarter, May 31st, the offer goes away. So that is something that Oracle says. And I don't think that May 31st is actually the most important date on the Oracle calendar. May 31st is Oracle's problem. It is not your problem, right? So Oracle is very good about taking their problems and trying to make them your problem. So May 31st is not the most important date. We actually believe that June 1st is the most important date. And that is a date we recommend you remind Oracle every time they bring up the end of May, you start talking about June. And we'll talk a little bit in a few minutes about specific recommendations and how to manage the calendar with Oracle. But the line I use with Oracle is, listen, if I don't sign the deal in May, I'll sign it in June or July and August. Eventually that deal will come back. And if you're not my sales rep in June or July, that's going to be really difficult when I spend money with Oracle and some other sales rep gets the commission on the deal that you worked, right? So it's really important that you turn the tables on Oracle and not focus so much on May 31st and what happens if you don't sign, but what happens on June 1st. And your leverage continues, and Oracle will take your money in June or July, the same as they will in May. So it's just a shift by a day, but it's also a shift in dialogue. And whenever Oracle brings up May 31st, we recommend, hey, Oracle, that's not my problem. Happy to sign in May if the deal is right, but I'm also happy to sign in June. So really want you to use June 1st as the most important day in your Oracle calendar. Now, when you're negotiating with Oracle, and again, we can't get very deep into these, and I could spend an hour on each bullet point here, but we've got the 30 minutes or so that we want to get through here. So here are some keys as you're negotiating with Oracle. The first one is you always want to negotiate from a position of strength and certainty. And what I mean by that is you want to be in compliance, you want to understand your contracts. We'll talk about creating alternatives in a second, but you never want to have to do a deal. Once you have to do a deal with Oracle, once Oracle has that leverage on you, then you've sort of lost the negotiation, right? And then it's all about just getting as much as you can, getting those crumbs before the end of that quarter when you feel then compelled to sign, right? So if Oracle is found you out of compliance and there's a big audit finding, you're much less likely to push or delay a deal to your liking than if you were in a position where you had too many licenses and you were operating in that kind of environment. So you always want to be in that position of strength. It's all about gaining leverage with Oracle. The next thing we recommend is that you understand the calculation of not doing the deal. And the reason I say that is because that will often affect the price as you're negotiating with Oracle. And a great example of that is the Oracle Unlimited License Agreement. There is no price list for an unlimited license agreement. How do you price something that's unlimited, times infinity? There's no way to do it. So every ULA is priced specifically for that client, and it's done multiple ways. So, one way that Oracle will price a ULA is, well, you gave us $10 million the last time, you should give us $12 million this time. Or you gave us $10 million last time, you've grown by 30%, so you should give us 13 million this year, right? So different methodologies. For you, it's, well, what's the cost if I don't do the ULA, right? So if I don't sign this ULA and have to re-architect or have to invest in new technologies or have to do things differently, what's that cost? And let's say it's $2 million. Well, that's the price of your new ULA. Anything more than that isn't worth it to you. So really understanding the calculation of doing something that's not the ULA or doing something that Oracle doesn't have in front of you. That's another key to negotiating from a pricing perspective. And the last one we have here is create alternatives. And every time we talk to a client, we're very cognizant of the fact that we want to empower them and we want them to understand that they control their own destiny. And the more effort they put into it, the more they take it seriously, the better the results. If they just set it and forget it, that's when things come to bite them later. So you want to create alternatives. Example, Oracle made some changes to how they license Java a year and a half ago, and now you have to pay for it. Well, you should be looking for alternatives to Oracle Java. So we did a webinar a month ago with a company called Renewals Technologies, and they have a great solution, a great Java solution since it is open source. And we've had lots of companies move over there for their Java needs, right? Or if you're thinking about third-party support, or if you're thinking about your Oracle support, you can think about third-party support, right? So we did another webinar with another alternative, with Rimini Street, and so customers are doing that. Alternatives to Oracle Cloud. We've done seminars and webinars with all the big cloud providers, whether it's AWS or Google or Microsoft. We've sort of highlighted those alternatives. Another alternative is if Oracle wants you to do a ULA, it doesn't mean you have to do a ULA. You might need more Oracle licenses, but not in that fashion. So you can create an alternative and still use Oracle. It just doesn't have to be, hey, Oracle wants you to buy 50 processors. Well, there might be an alternative where you have to spend a lot less money with Oracle buying something like named users. So understanding your options, alternatives, doesn't mean necessarily that you're moving away from Oracle. You're just moving away from the way in which Oracle wants you to work with them, right? It could be that simple. And there's no one at Oracle who gets paid to help you spend less money with Oracle, right? So think about it. Everyone gets paid more money at Oracle when you spend more with them. So there's no incentive, there's no real incentive for an Oracle sales rep to help you spend less with them or to actually reduce your estate tax. There's nothing for them other than the threat of you might leave them. Now, this is the flip side to negotiating from strength and, avoiding weakness, right? So, we talked about compliance. That is one of the big reasons. If you're signing a new deal because you've been found out of compliance, I guarantee you that deal is not as good as if you were doing a new deal because you wanted it, right? So we see all the time, Oracle will put a huge non-compliance number, $100 million in front of a customer. And then they sign a new deal for $10 million. And then the Oracle customer thinks, look, I did such a great job. I got this $100 million compliance finding down to $10 million. And I look at it a little different, like, well, why did you spend the $10 million? If you were in compliance to begin with, you would have spent zero. And $10 million equals an extra $2 million a year for support perpetually. So for 5 years, that $10 million is, $22 million or something like that when you count inflationary increases. So always be in that position of strength. We talked about the calendar, signing a deal in May because Oracle wants you to is the wrong reason to sign a deal. Signing a deal in May because it's the best deal that you can get and it's good for your organization, that's a great reason to sign a deal in May. And then finally, if you have no alternatives to what Oracle wants you to do, and you have to buy Oracle, you have much less leverage for terms and conditions and pricing and things like that than if you have a walkaway position. So always having some alternative to Oracle. And that's true for any vendor, right? All these recommendations we have are not specific to Oracle. You can apply these pretty much to any vendor. Another thing we talk about is avoiding the stealth audit. So this is something that comes up a lot. Oracle has a very unique way of auditing their customers. They have the path of the official audits, and that's where you work with the LMS team. They actually changed their names a few times. They're now called SIA, Software Investment Advisors. And they had a GLAS, Global License Advisory Services. They actually have 3 different names now. Oracle licensing isn't confusing enough. They had to change the name of their audit team to be confusing in itself. So now they've got 3 different organizations reaching out to you. The LMS team is the one that sends you the official audit letters. And that'll go to probably a C-level executive or a senior person in your organization. And that's when that contractual audit provision kicks in. But then they also have, like I mentioned, these offers of assistance, and I'll, air quotes, offers of assistance. We're here to help you. 9 most dangerous words in the English language. I'm from Oracle LMS. I'm here to help. So they'll help you certify your ULA. They'll help you figure out your licensing costs. And we had one client who, before they were a client, they had a ULA that was expiring. And the LMS team reached out to help them, and the client didn't realize they were being audited. And the LMS team found millions of dollars of non-compliance, allegedly. And that's when this particular company hired us to help them. And it took a year and a half of having to deal with Oracle. Almost all of the compliance findings, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, were not real. So they were, false positives and possibilities and doubts that Oracle had. So that customer did spend money with Oracle, but all the money they spent with Oracle were not for anything on the compliance finding. It was all for other stuff the customer wanted. So we leveraged the audit to get a better deal somewhere else. Be careful about required processes, particularly with ULAs. So about 6 months before your ULA expires, you'll start getting letters from the LMS team or the SIA or one of those organizations offering to help with your certification. And be careful. It's like the tax authorities helping you fill out your tax forms, right? Would you have the IRS help you fill out your tax forms, or would you have your accountant help you fill out your tax forms? You think about that. And remember the word required. Often Oracle will use that word in their messaging to you. And we always encourage people to look at their contracts. So is it required that you fill out this deployment form and send it back to Oracle? Is it required that you run these scripts and send them back to Oracle? We would say no. If it's not in the contract, it's not required. So we'll work with clients down that path. Another stealth audit, and I just came across this again yesterday, where Oracle, they monitor what you download from the support pages. And when you call in for support, they're checking the box. Hey, these customers want support on this product, so we're going to provide it. But they're good on them. They're looking at the license grants eventually to make sure that you have licenses for them. And if they find discrepancies, this is one of those ways that that third-party support is actually less risky than Oracle support, right? Because you're calling into Oracle, and you're telling them all this stuff about your environment, where you could be creating a problem for yourself when their problem doesn't have to be there. And then the Oracle Cloud, we throw that up there because every time you use the Oracle Cloud, you have a provision in your contracts that says they could use your information for audit purposes. They call it license management purposes. But whereas now, if you're not in the Oracle Cloud, they have to send you a letter, you have to run scripts, you have to send them information back. In the Oracle Cloud, they can just audit you, tell you and then do it. They have all your data. So this is an important one as you're dealing with Oracle. We do have a white paper on this. So you can go to our website and download the hidden audit white paper. You can see our little diagram there with icebergs and sharks that talk about this. So now we want to just get into the sort of, like I said, the money slide, and talk about specific things that you can do from now until June. And remember, not the end of May, from now until, let's say, the end of June, that you can do with Oracle to help you. So let's say you're negotiating with Oracle for whatever, for cloud, for license, for support renewals, for whatever, whatever you're negotiating, make sure you get the Word version of that contract from Oracle. We did a blog the other day on the best way to negotiate with Oracle, and Oracle will take all the time in the world to talk to you about the deal in PowerPoint format. And I'll go back and forth and back and forth. And typically what I've seen is sometime in mid to late May, they'll actually give you a PDF that you see, but it's too late to negotiate it, right? It's too late. You've only got a week left in the quarter and the deal goes away. So we want to extend that time as much as possible. So the more time you have to redline contracts and negotiate terms and get better pricing, the better, the more cycles you can go through. So if you're going through a negotiation now, make sure you get the Word document. If Oracle refuses to give you the Word document, just say, fine, I'll work with my new sales rep in June and he'll give me, or she'll give me the Word document, right? So you want to get off of PowerPoint. Again, the calendar is really important. Oracle will often give their customers a calendar of events that need to happen from now until whenever date. And they'll say, okay, we're going to give you this and you're going to review it and you're going to give it back to us and we're going to have signatures by this date. And what I would do is I would delete that, crumple it up, put it in a wastebasket, and you give Oracle the calendar. This is your buying process. It's not their selling process. In order for you to buy something Oracle, from Oracle, Oracle needs to do these things and give you these terms and this pricing by this date. And you'll be happy to sign it. You'll sign it tomorrow if they were able to do that for you. So you want to have your schedule. The next thing is you definitely want to go first in the negotiations. Now, this is against a lot of things you learn in negotiation school, where the person who goes first loses. We talked about ULA pricing before and sort of how there are many different ways to price the ULA. I guarantee you, if you figure out the value of the software to you and the alternative of not buying it, the price you come up with is going to be much lower than the price Oracle comes up with. So rather than Oracle giving you a $10 million number and you try and get that down to $5 million, why don't you give Oracle a $1 million number and maybe Oracle gets that up to $3 million. Plus, you get all those concessions in terms and conditions. As the price increases, you want more terms and conditions concessions. So definitely go first. And then finally, create alternatives. We talked about this earlier, whether it's Java alternatives or support alternatives or database alternatives or Postgres or cloud alternatives. You need to go out and do that. Oracle's not going to really help you do that. You need to go create alternatives for yourself. You have all the power and control and the budget and the money. And it's the more effort that you can put here, the more ability you have to walk away from that deal if it's not the right deal for you. So these are 4 recommendations if you're in a contract negotiation situation. Now, what if your support renewals are coming up? Well, the first thing is make sure you're not in Oracle's auto renew program. I think they put a clause in their contracts. It's like 56 days before the end of your support renewal. If you don't let them know, they're going to auto renew you. So make sure you're not in that. If you are, you might already be subject to that auto renewal. Also, make sure your support renewals are accurate. We find a lot of mistakes in Oracle support renewals. So make sure that all the fees line up and the amounts are correct and you're tying it back to the original orders. That's really important. We've identified at least 10 different ways that customers can reduce their support fees with Oracle. We talked about, third-party support, and we have it listed there below. But definitely, understand your options. We did a webinar. Again, I keep bringing up these webinars. It's all free, available to folks. We also have our online Palisade, where you can go in and it's about an hour and 10 minutes, I think, that seminar on, getting a little more in depth in how to accomplish some of those reductions. And then finally, just avoid the multi-year lock-in. Oracle will be great at that. If you pay us for support for 3 years, we'll reduce it by 1% or 2% or we'll flatline it. And that might sound good on the surface, but I think that's sort of your last thing you should do. You go through all the different ways to reduce. If you can't get any of them and you still want to get some flatlining or nominal reduction, then maybe a multi-year thing, but avoid that if you can, because you're going to sign that multi-year engagement and in a year and a half, you're going to be looking to reduce and you're not going to be able to. So just, flexibility sometimes has a cost to it. If you're in a ULA, we actually, for the first time, are recommending customers not renew their ULAs. The economy is so uncertain that I don't really see, unless there's a really compelling event, you did a big M&A activity or you have a non-compliance issue that requires you to do it. If you can get out of those ULAs, at least for a year, you can always certify this year and get back into it next year. But we think the macroeconomic environment sort of gives a blanket recommendation of don't renew unless there's a compelling event. I mean, traditionally, we've been of the position of go in the direction that is best for you in terms of let's try to get the best renewal and the best certification, put that offer on the table. But again, with all the uncertainty, you can always get that next new deal from Oracle next year if you have to. In that line of certification, make sure you optimize your license grant. It doesn't matter how many licenses you certify to, whether it's 100 or 1,000 or 25,000, your support will stay the same. So it's in your best interest to certify it as high as you possibly can. That is in line with your contract. Take ownership of that process. Don't let Oracle dictate how you will certify. That is your responsibility in the contract, so own it, and you'll be much better off for it. And again, if you don't get that deal in May, you'll get it in June or July or later. That's our kick the can approach, where a customer doesn't get the deal that's best for them. They end up certifying for short term, and then they do something later. So that would be our approach there. And then finally, if you are in an active audit with Oracle, again, make sure you control that process. You need to be reasonable with your information sharing with Oracle. That's in your contract. But Oracle also needs to be reasonable with you. So they will often go outside of the contract. Your contract may say you have 45 days to respond. Oracle sends you a note saying they want to meet in 3 days. So take all the time you're contractually allotted, and ensure that Oracle does the same thing. Ensure that Oracle, and we could talk about audit defense for hours, ensure that any policy Oracle wants to enforce, those are outlined at the beginning of the audit and they're not sprung on you at the end. Ensure that anything that they're going to try to use is in your contract. So things like virtualization policies, third-party cloud policies, things like that, those are not in your contract. So you should deal with them accordingly. And just remember, Oracle really doesn't audit very well. They're not, I don't believe that their audit teams are judged on how accurate their audits are. I think they're more judged on how much revenue they bring in and how many audits and how quickly they do them. So, remember that. We always find mistakes. So even if you're at the end of the audit process and you have the final report from Oracle, there's probably mistakes in there. I haven't found one that didn't have mistakes. So you can even improve your situation at that very last stage. So these are all things that obviously you can do from now until June with Oracle. And then we have, you can also get our help. Like I said, it's never too late to get our help. So we do have, for those folks who want to do it yourself, we do have Palisade, our online portal. And then if you want an expert to come in and help you, there's always Palisade Compliance. So this is my last slide before we go off to questions. And I told you there would be a reward at the end, and here it is. So anybody who is looking for self-education, you can sign up today. We have, just go to that link, paliversity.com, sign up for a subscription. You put in the promo code Oracle Tax, and for this week, and you'll get a 10% discount on any subscription. These subscriptions last for a year, and you have access to all our available classes around Oracle. So you can go online there. And then obviously, if you need more than self-education, we've got Palisade Compliance and the team of experts. We're all ex-Oracle auditors and contracts and very senior folks who've been helping customers for years through any of those paths, audits, ULAs, negotiations, support reductions. We can definitely help you with any of that. So I told you that would be 30 minutes, and it was actually 35. So now we will open it up to questions. Marissa, what do we have from the audience?
So our first question, how aggressive will Oracle sales be to close before May 31st?
I think that one, we sort of talked about that at the beginning. You're going to see wide variations in how Oracle deals with you, depending on your sales team at the time. So if I'm a sales rep, and I always put my Oracle hat back on, if I'm a sales rep and I've met my quota for the year and I have an account I know I'm going to have next year, I'm probably not going to push them very hard. However, if I'm a sales rep and I'm struggling and I need that money this year, or I might lose my job, I'm going to push that account really hard. So one of the things we've recommended to sort of uncover sort of how you fit in with your client is if you have a situation where you have an audit or a negotiation or a ULA, again, we just did a paper on this or a blog post on this last week, reach out to your Oracle rep and ask for a pause. Say, listen, Oracle, I know my ULA expires on May 31st, but I'd like to extend the negotiations till July 1st. Or I know we're under audit now, but hey, we're going through a challenge with this COVID-19 issue, and our resources are being diverted as yours are. Can we pause the audit? Can we pause the negotiation? Can we pause the ULA? And if Oracle comes back and says no, I think you have a good indication of your position with them and sort of how they're going to approach you. If they approach you back and say, sure, then I think you know they're going to be much less aggressive. So that's a way, again, we talk about you taking ownership of this. That's a great way for you to understand your position. And, obviously, if you're using the COVID-19 issue, it should be legitimate, right? We don't want to take advantage of a crisis just to give ourselves more time with Oracle. But if it is having an impact, you should let Oracle know. And because I know it's impacting Oracle. They're going through the same issues, quarantine, working from home that everybody else is. What's next, Marissa?
Do you think Oracle has written this quarter off due to the macro environment?
No, I don't think Oracle ever writes off a quarter. However, if they were going to ever write off a quarter, this would be the quarter to do it. I think if in June, when Oracle announces earnings, if they have a revenue miss and they say, listen, customers just delayed their purchasing because of what's going on in the world, I think investors will understand that, right? Now, if they have two misses in a row, if they miss in May and then miss in August, that's going to be more problematic for them. But if they're ever going to miss, this is going to be it. You know, I think that they're probably saying to their sales teams, you know, if your customers reach out to you, you know, don't be a jerk. You know, let's get the revenue in, but let's respect what the clients are going through. And I think, again, how that's interpreted and implemented at the rep level is going to change. But I don't think Oracle will ever write off a quarter. And I think they're going to have very healthy numbers, right? Their support revenue is their annuity stream, and they have 90-something% renewals on that. So, you know, that'll be there for them. It's just a matter of, you know, how much business closes the last week of May. That's will ultimately determine if they have a hit or a miss.
Our next question, what is the best extra discount you can get in case you close the deal before June 1st? For example, now with COVID-19.
Discountings are all over the place. You can get a 99% discount or a 1% discount, depending on your leverage, all those things we talked about, all the other ways we help customers gain leverage with Oracle. There is no best discount, right? There are you know, guidelines that we have depending on how much you're going to spend with Oracle, but discounts are all over the place. That's a really hard question. I always start discussions with Oracle at zero. Oracle, I'm not giving you any money, and show me why I should, and show me the value you bring to my organization, and then work up from there. So rather than starting at list fee and trying to get a discount, you know, as high as you can, I start at zero and make Oracle sell me on the value and why I should spend this. You know, their list fees, Oracle price lists, they're all made up, right? It's not like you're buying a car and there's a cost to build that car, and then the auto company adds a margin on top of that, and then the dealership adds a margin on top of that. If you look at the Oracle price list, the Oracle database is the same price it's been for 10 years. How many things in the market are the exact same price they were 10 years ago? Now, Oracle has changed some of the rules and policies around that, but you think about that, it's exactly the same price. And, you know, they just play with the discounts. So I wouldn't focus on discount, I'd focus on the final cost and the value that you're getting.
Great. And our next question, is Oracle's support sales representatives honest about the billing of support fees? Do they bill appropriately when a product version is older than 5 years versus 8 years, respectively?
You know, they are good, honest people. No one's trying to lie, cheat, and steal, right? So, and I really mean that. I was there for many years, and I know those folks, a lot of them. It's the system that they've created that causes problems. It's the policies that they've created. So I'm sure they've got a whole automated way of billing. And if I'm an Oracle sales rep and I've got 100 accounts or however many accounts that I have, I'm just sending out the bills that are system generated. Maybe I'm eyeballing the bigger ones and sort of figuring things out. So it really goes back to the original order that you placed and how that was inputted in their systems and through the years. So this is why our first recommendation was check your pricing. Make sure you're not in the auto renewal program, and check your pricing. Because if there's a mistake, it's more likely that you're going to pick it up than they're going to pick it up. And then you can determine on, you know, what to do with it. You know, whether it's the annual increases or products that they don't charge for anymore, or, you know, things that you may have terminated in the past. You really, you know, why would you ever give a vendor $1 million and not check the invoice, right? It's You know, if you were buying a pallet of goods, you would make sure that the right number was being delivered. When you're buying support, you should be checking that invoice with the original purchase and making sure that you're doing the right amount. So it's not that people are doing things dishonest. It's that it's a big machine and mistakes happen, and you know, buyer beware. So it's up to you to make sure you're paying the right amount.
So if order forms are not clear in the case of auto renew, what is the alternative way to find out? Should the order forms be co-termed? Should I ask the account manager?
So I believe, and if we have the person who sent this question, I'll reply back to them. I believe you can log into your Oracle support portal and opt out of the auto renew if you're in it. So it has nothing to do with co-terminations or anything like that. Just log in your portal and you'll see it there. It should also be, there should be some mention of it on a renewal, whether it was last year or this year, in terms of that. It'll be on that. So,
how much does the renewal of support increase each year, the fees?
So if you go to Oracle's price list, at the very end of their online price list, there'll be a line in there about the following year renewal. And it's based on the inflationary index for the country in which the licenses were purchased. So in the US, that has been, 2 or 3% for the last, 20 years, because we've had low inflation. If you're in Venezuela, you're going to have a much different situation with the inflationary index. So it's country by country, and it's part of Oracle's price list. So I wouldn't, on the flip side, at least with support, there is a cap. Even if you don't have a contractual cap, there is a limit to how much Oracle can increase your support fees. Compare that with Oracle Cloud. If you negotiate a 3-year deal with Oracle for Cloud, maybe you flatline it every year at $1 million. Well, guess what happens in year 4? There's no inflationary index cap for your cloud. So it could be $25 million. Who knows? Maybe Oracle stopped selling that. Maybe Oracle wants you to migrate to some different cloud product. So as you get more embedded, and again, this is true with any vendor who's going from an on-premise solution to cloud solutions, you're much more at the mercy of that vendor. So as you start using Oracle Cloud more, you have much less flexibility than if you were to retain your control with your on-premise licenses or use a third-party cloud or move to alternative support or things like that. Country by country, inflationary index, look at your price list to find the details.
Okay, and then we have one final question that actually goes along with the previous question. Since we are in a deflationary cycle currently, do you think we'll see a flat line with fee increases for the fiscal year 21?
Well, I guess there's 2 parts of that. I don't know if we're in some areas are deflationary. It's all going to go to how Oracle calculates that price increase, right? So, and again, it's mentioned right there in the price list. I guess best case scenario, that could be flatlined if we really do get into a deflationary situation. We won't know until either Oracle announces it or those renewals come in. So, check your renewals. Everything I've seen so far, people have received renewals, in the last 30, 60 days. They're all getting price increases. It's not been flatlined. But there were 2 people who answered that question that they went to Oracle and got some reductions. So that might be an option to reach out to them and just say, hey, flatline this for me. But don't do it for multiple years, just for the 1 year. Was that it, Marissa?
Yep, those were all of our questions that we had for today.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Marissa, for hosting today and doing all that. And thank you, everyone, for your time and your great questions. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have this offer. If you want to take us up on some self-learning and Paliversity, just put the Oracle tax in your promo code. It's only good for this week. And if you need help, again, it's never too late to get help taking control from Oracle. The Palisade team is here to help you. So that's all we have for today, everyone. Stay safe and good luck with Oracle for the rest of their fiscal year. Thank you all.